Thank you for joining us today here in Wood Green, Witney, and that's the HQ of West Oxfordshire District Council. And of course, we've just passed the budget for this financial year that's come in from April. And of course, it's been in the news quite a lot recently. We thought it might be interesting for you to hear about how we're managing the budget. So I'm joined today with the Executive Portfolio for Finance, Alaric Smith, who is here to shed some light on the budget changes. So, Alaric, welcome. And of course, we sit here quite often talking about finances in the council. I wondered if you could actually we've got 40 million budget this coming year. How is that made up and where do we get the money from?
Well, so the council tax that you pay goes to a number of different public services who all do different jobs, including Oxfordshire County Council, parish and town councils, police and fire services. The district council actually only receives around 10 pence in every pound. With that money, we deliver 50 services or over 50 services, including bin collections, helping people facing homelessness, planning, licensing, food businesses, parking and many more. Only 37% of our budget comes from council tax. The rest comes from business rates, which is a tax collected from businesses, funding from government and money from investments. We also work collaboratively with other stakeholders to ensure that resources that we have are shared out as efficiently and fairly as possible. And as part of our plans, we'll continue to work with local partners like Oxfordshire County Council and through regional partnerships to combine resources with them and make a bigger difference for our communities.
Could you talk a little bit more about the factors that have influenced the budget plans that we have agreed?
Yeah, so as with any decisions that we make, we're guided by our commitment to meeting the needs of our residents as well as managing our resources responsibly. Our goal is to continue to deliver good local services, obviously, and to keep working to improve those services, making them even more efficient.
How did we consult the residents on the budget planning?
So we ran a consultation in 2022 on our council plan, and we then updated that in 2023. And residents have told us that where they want to see us take action, including tackling the climate emergency, creating more affordable homes and cleaning up our waterways. And we also want to be able to invest in those things that we know matter to local residents.
As we know, there's a lot of uncertainty over future government funding. And I wondered really if you could just unpack that a little, explain how we're preparing for that potential funding and what it means in terms of services.
Sure, yeah. So uncertainty around government funding obviously poses a significant challenge for us and for many other local authorities. Our government funding has reduced in real terms by about 60% over the last 10 years. Wow. We've seen high inflation, which makes the costs of running services significantly higher, and we have less money to deliver those services that now cost more. So we're also only told 1 year ahead of as to how much funding we will get, and that therefore makes it very hard to plan for the future. Finally, we're expecting a change in the way local government is funded, which would reduce our funding further by over 35% in the next 3 years. So we're having to take a very proactive approach to this through planning ahead and careful financial management. And we're going to continue to explore opportunities to boost our efficiency and to minimise the impact of any further funding cuts in the future, and as mentioned, collaborating with partners to pool resources, that will be a key part of that.
Of course, a lot of people tell us that they want to see improvements for our services, and that's really important that we look at improvements whilst managing the actual funding that's needed for that.
Absolutely, yeah.
There's a lot of people in West Oxfordshire that are really feeling the pinch, and of course the economic crisis has really put a strain on their finances, and yet we're having to make an increase in the council tax. I wondered if you could just tell everyone a bit more about that increase and what it really means in terms of their finances.
Yeah, I mean, we fully understand the financial pressures that people across the district are facing, and it's not a decision that we've taken lightly. As part of the local government funding settlement, all local councils were expected to raise council tax, and following reluctance from local councils and pressure on the government, some additional funding was provided. However, this has given West Oxfordshire an increase of less than 1%.
1%?
Yeah. So, and in order to ensure that we can continue providing the level of services our residents rely on, it's meant an increase of council tax of around 10 pence per week for an average Band D property. And that's going to be primarily allocated to funding local services that directly benefit our communities.
Okay, so it's in the bigger picture as far as West Oxfordshire is concerned, because we're not the only authority that the council tax actually applies to. It applies also to the counties, and which is a bigger share.
A much bigger share, yes.
So it's a kind of almost like a cup of coffee a week increase for the West Oxfordshire services that everyone gets. And it is a little more as far as Oxfordshire County Council is concerned.
That's correct.
So one of those increases in charges is garden waste, and I believe it's £5 increase on the current level.
Yeah.
Can you just explain that and how that is compared to other authorities?
Yeah, I mean, it's a decision also that we didn't take lightly, but it's necessary due to the rising costs of providing the service. We understand that the rise may be challenging for some people, but the change will help to continue to allow us to offer a reliable and efficient service. It also means that those people using the service are paying the cost of running it, and that those who don't aren't subsidising those who do. We think that's a fair approach. And by ensuring that our garden waste service can run efficiently, we can uphold our duty to protect the environment and the well-being of communities. Compared
to other authorities, I think there's a lot of authority. I think this is a very low by comparison to
Yes,
others.
I mean, we've done some benchmarking, and we are still below the average of local authorities in our region.
So it's good value in that sense anyway. So. Okay, so really, finally, I think it's useful for everyone to know, really, where did we spend the money last year, and what were some of the achievements that made a difference?
Well, so we continued, as I mentioned, in our commitment to better and more meaningful consultation, whether it be for the new local plan or seeking feedback from young people in the district who, are seldom heard. We've continued our executive on tour, taking our decision making out to local communities so that people get more of a chance to engage with us. We've also opened our new council chamber, taking the opportunities of external funding and also sort of putting in the maintenance that was desperately needed and hasn't been put in there before, and creating a space that will be used by people across the district.
Oh, well, brilliant, really. I mean, just looking at one of those, for example, the Youth Needs Assessment, which really was one of the most successful consultations we did with young people. In fact, across Oxfordshire, 3,500 young people engaged in that sort of assessment. And resulting out of it, of course, was the Youth Development Officer post, so that we can start to tackle some of those issues of accessibility in our rural area, where young people find it very difficult to get to places because of the rural nature of buses not being available. And I kind of think there's some exciting possibilities there, so that we really can actually support young people who have gone through a very difficult time during not only COVID, but of course the crisis, the economic crisis impacts on them, and the impact of schooling, and that's going to make a real difference.
Absolutely, and I think those are the kinds of things that we want to be able to do. By a careful stewardship of our financial resources, we're able to find the money to put that kind of thing in place. So that's really important.
And I suppose one of the things about that is that we're not just using council tax money, because there's grants that we've actually been able to obtain from either government or other agencies, which wouldn't have been able to be achieved if we actually hadn't been proactive, going out there, searching for those opportunities to invest in those services.
No, that's right, and I think that's where it's a sort of power of investment, isn't it? You can invest some money, and that will bring other resources in. Because you've got somebody out there on the ground who can do that work.
Yeah, and you mentioned really about the council chamber gave a briefing, but it wasn't just that, was it? I mean,
No, so we had what we call an agile working project, which was basically to sort of update, if you like, the way that our staff are able to work, so that that's allowed us to free up some office space. Staff can work on a flexible basis. They can work from home some of the time, and they're in the office some of the time, and that's meant that we've been able to free up our Elmfield offices so that we can let those and raise more money. And also we've upgraded our high street shop on Welsh Way, which has improved the experience for residents when they want to come and talk to us. And also as we mentioned, we've upgraded the council chamber so that it's much more modern. We've got proper technology there, so we can have meetings, virtual meetings, and we can also live stream our meetings so that people can access us and their council in different ways. So I think in terms of other things, we've continued to engage with Thames Water to stop the polluting of our waterways. We held another successful sold-out Waterways Day to discuss action on protecting the waterways. We've also made changes to our planning process to make sure that any new homes have the sewage treatment that they need. We meet with Thames Water on a monthly basis to try to understand what their plans are, to encourage them to bring forward those plans for upgrades to the system that we know are desperately required. We're also trying to work our officers are working very hard to try to reduce our carbon footprint as a council and across the district, which includes work to install low carbon heating in our buildings, creating more natural habitats and expanding our electric vehicle fleet. And then I suppose finally there's the things that we do, the bread and butter, if you like, which are the council services that you would expect us to be delivering.
so on that one, there's some impressive statistics out here which we actually listed for this particular interview, this chat with you, and I was amazed when I actually heard it. I'm sure you will be. You've got a list there.
So we've responded to over 775 fly tips. We've answered 74,361 queries through our customer services team. We've emptied over 6.83 million bins.
Wow.
We've processed over 2,600 planning applications. We've supported over 170 households to avoid them becoming homeless. We've investigated 390 abandoned vehicles. We've processed over 750 benefits and financial support claims for people in need of support. In 2023, our work with housing providers has helped us deliver a range of affordable homes, including 164 rental and 99 shared ownership properties. And we also built 4 first homes, a new form of affordable home ownership, bringing us a step closer to meeting our community's housing needs.
Brilliant. Well, that's really been just a taste, really, of getting to know and understand the budget and the way that your money actually is used to deliver improved services. And we aim to keep that going. And hopefully we'll have further conversations about other aspects of our services. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.